Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? This is Amanda Ellis. I hope that you are well. Today's video is an interesting one, and I am filming this introduction a day after I filmed the main body of this video, which was yesterday. Today's date is the 11th of January 2024, so we have a double 11 energy because the day's date also adds to 11. And I really feel as though I had to come back to what I recorded yesterday to add a few more pieces to it. It's such a big subject. It's very hard to cover it all off, even in an hour plus video. So if you notice any glitches in this video with regard to the light being different in the room at different places, me maybe looking different or sounding different, it's because this has been recorded over 2 days, okay? So firstly, a very warm welcome to all of my new subscribers. Thank you very much for joining this channel. I hope that you enjoy it. We cover all sorts of subjects here from the galactics, and this video is going to be another video that explores galactic energy, but we also look at many other ascended master energies. We do readings for various things that are happening in the world, including political, social things that are going on. I also channel celebrities that have passed over. There's a playlist called The Heart Squad, which are one of my most popular pieces of work, many videos on that playlist. And also I talk a lot about duality, light and dark, exposing what is happening in our world. So it's a real mix of things here. I've also created 2 oracle decks. One is an Archangel Metatron self-mastery deck, and the other one is a Christ Consciousness self-mastery deck. So that's just a little bit about who I am. But anyway, let's get to the main subject of today, which is to talk about the Rhesus Negative Blood. This is a video that was requested a year ago, but I'm doing in 2024, and that feels perfect because it's landing at a time when the galactic energy is being discussed more and more. Why are galactics linked into Rhesus Negative Blood will probably be the first question that you've got. And this is because that some of the theories that are out there suggest that Rhesus Negative Blood, which is completely different in nature from all other blood groups and blood types across the planet, originated from some type of crossbreed energy, either with aliens or angels. So that's what we're going to explore in this video. And to do that, we are going to link into the energy of Archangel Metatron, who is one of my main guides and who has a foot in every realm and is able to be a gatekeeper for every realm. And also we're going to bring in the energy of Commander Ashtar, the Galactic Federation of Light. I've channeled him quite a few times already. And I'm going to do something a little bit different today, which is I'm also going to, towards the end of this video, channel the blood that is actually running through my own veins, which is Rhesus Negative. So rather than turning to some book on a dusty shelf, I think because I actually have the Rhesus Negative blood within myself, it will be interesting just to allow that energy to talk through me as well. So that's the intention of this video. Let's just talk about or answer something I know you're all going to be saying, which is, how do I find out my blood group? I found out my blood group. I mean, many women find it out when they're pregnant, because if you are A Rhesus negative, such as myself, you have to have an injection just to protect you against the fact that your baby might be A positive from memory. I think that's right. Maybe the baby has to have something as well. Can't remember. It's all so blinking long ago. But anyway, pregnancy can be a way that you find out. But equally, I found out before that because I carry a little blue book. I carry one of these, and to be honest, I haven't donated blood for a long time. I think this year is the year that I'm going to go back and do it again, because it's a very good thing to do, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But yeah, giving blood is a way that you find out very quickly what your blood group is. In the UK, yeah, they used to give you these little books, and it would say your name, your address. It would say, it would confirm what your blood group is, and you would get a certificate every time you donated blood. There would be your little certificate. You would also get a cup of tea and a biscuit. My preference was always a custard cream. But yeah, it was always quite nice. I have to say, because I've done 11 takes of this video, I've never got beyond the first 5 minutes, by the way. One of the reasons that take 8 or 9 didn't happen was because Tony Hancock was just, his energy was barging into the video. If you don't know who Tony Hancock is, Tony Hancock was a British comedian, been dead a long time, but he had a famous sketch, do link it below somebody, about going and donating blood. It's so funny. So I just had him coming to mind. But anyway, I must park that now, Tony, if you don't mind, because otherwise I can't do this video. Okay, I can just see him there in his hat he used to wear. Anyway, the point about giving blood is, yeah, you get your biscuit, you get your cup of tea, but more than that, my friends, look, on the British thing that you get, this was mine. You see the little holograph with the cup of tea? So British. But obviously it's also just get a little bit of sustenance into you. But not, in seriousness, giving blood, it's an act of love for the community, because you are reliant on somebody else doing it. If you ever get into an accident or need a transfusion, or you end up on an operating table, you're reliant on somebody else having donated their blood. I'm really into real blood rather than synthetic blood, but let's not go there in this video, okay? But the other thing is, there's a great sense of community spirit when you give blood. I think maybe it just attracts people that are wanting to do their bit for the community. So I'm encouraging you to do that. Hands up who's a blood donor. Well done if you are. And yeah, let's get back to it. I'm going to be getting back to it this year, definitely. I think I stopped because I used to have an antibiotic that I used on my skin, or a tablet or something, and they didn't want my blood. But I haven't taken that for a long time, so I could give it again. Right, a few facts and figures for you. This is interesting in terms of where are the people who've got Rhesus negative blood distributed around the world, because there's a big difference in geography. And this is from a website, I will link it below, called Gaia.com. And it basically says that the average, and this is the average because it fluctuates vastly between countries, but on average, 15% of the world's population has the Rhesus negative distinction, as they call it, with the D antigen totally absent. However, this 15% percentage is not spread evenly. And even though humans are thought to share a common ancestor originating in the sub-Saharan Africa, the number of Rhesus negative Africans is disproportionately low compared to other places. It's about 3%. And in Asia, it's even lower. It's about 1%. It seems that the gene that produces this Rhesus negative thing is largely present in Caucasians. And get this, the highest concentration found of people with this blood type are found in a very small region of the Iberian Peninsula between France and Spain, known as the Basque region, straddling the Pyrenees. And what sort of percentage would you think is there? 40% is there. 40% of the population there is thought to be Rhesus negative. There's also quite high concentrations in Australia. You think about all the Brits that were sent to Australia, and Irish people that were sent to Australia might count for that. I did look up USA. I believe USA is around about the 6% mark. Let's not get too bogged down in terms of the country that we're from, because remember, we are all a mixture of everything. If you ever have your DNA analysed, you've usually got a good couple of countries in that blood, okay? But I do think it's interesting that it's not an even spread around the world at all. Right, a few theories that are out there. The first one that I want to look at is that the Nephilim, have you heard of the Nephilim? Of biblical lore are responsible for this Rhesus negative blood group. It says in the book of Enoch, the Nephilim, also known as the Watchers, descend from the heavens and mate with humans, creating a human-angel hybrid. I think this theory has some legs, I have to be honest. It says that this group of angels and their offspring were wiped out largely in the great biblical deluge. I assume that's Noah that's being referred to, though some were said to have survived, leaving the Rhesus negative blood distinction. I'm going to particularly talk about this theory because I feel as though, as I say, there's something in that. But there's also, I'm just going to read this article here. It says, another theory is that the Anunnaki, the extraterrestrial race that helped establish ancient Mesopotamia, engineered or crossbred with humans, and that some part of this process created the Rhesus negative blood type. So to be honest, whichever one you go for, it's basically saying it is a crossbreed type energy. It's alleged that people with Rhesus negative blood have distinct physical features, paired with a desire for psychic phenomena, maybe higher instance of alien abductions. That's interesting. Beam me up, Scotty. No, thank you very much. I do not wish to go. But it also says here, higher than average IQ, lower body temperature, higher blood pressure, red or reddish hair, extra vertebrae, elevated intuition, sensitive vision, and sensitivity to sunlight. So that's just one theory, okay? I will just say this thing as well. This is interesting. It says in South America, some of the bizarrely shaped oblong paraca skulls were found to have red hair in an area where that hair colour isn't native. The gene for red hair originates in the Middle East and Europe. So some archaeologists have connected that these red-haired skulls to the Nephilim could be Rh negative blood type bridges. Anyhow, guys, I mean, that's sort of some of the theories that are out there. That's where we're at. I would like to now have a look at it myself. So, if you don't mind, I'm just going to finish my coffee first, and then we're going to get to it. What do you think? And are you Rhesus negative blood? Because I would hazard a guess that in the light worker community, we have a higher proportion of Rhesus negative blood. I'm being told, actually, definitely versus traditional religion. Not making any judgment on that, just feeling that to be fact for whatever reason. I don't know why. It seems a weird way to start, but I want to pull a couple of tarot cards. This deck, the After Tarot, feels as though it has something to say. So I'm just going to shuffle, and I'm going to pull 3 cards, and I'm just going to ask about Rhesus negative blood, just to get us going in terms of a discussion. So Rhesus negative blood. Rhesus negative blood. We have the Fool. We have the 5 of Cups. I know where this is going. And we have, ooh, interesting. Thank you. I love the tarot. You see, you can use the tarot for so many things. You think, yeah, it's not going to answer that question. And it does. My goodness. Right, what have we got? We've got the Fool, the 5 of Cups, the 2 of Cups, the 6 of Wands, the 4 of Wands, and the High Priestess. I actually have got 6 cards. I'll put them up in a minute, but I need to tell you what it means as well, and I need to see them. The Fool. No, let's not start with the Fool. Let's start with the Five of Cups. We have a drowning human being in a river. We have another figure that is desolate, that feels as though everything is lost. We have the Fool that is starting a completely new journey. You see, I don't know my dates of the Bible. When was Noah's flood? Was there a flood before Noah? Because I'm feeling, what I'm tapping into here is there was a period in our human history where humanity was on the brink of wipeout, signified by the drowning human being. This figure just feeling as though all is lost. Even though there were still 2 cups standing, 3 were shattered, and interestingly, on this deck, can you see that 3 of the cups that are down on the ground have got blood coming out of them? Well, that's my interpretation. Spilt blood, lost blood. Dark clouds overhead. Interestingly, also, there's a church in the background, as though the traditional belief system that was operating at that time could not answer the questions or could not come up with the solutions with regards to how do we solve this crisis in that humanity is on the brink of wiping itself out. But then we have the Fool and the 2 of Wands. Something came in. What came in was the Rhesus Negative Bloodline, which was offering a completely fresh new start, a completely fresh new vision, was able to see a bright horizon. And this bloodline, these souls, flooded into the planet. Interesting, I said flooded into the planet, but I'm feeling just came into the planet with great success. They were met with jubilation. I don't mean by that there was dancing in the streets or that people even consciously understood that that is what had happened. But people suddenly, the dark clouds, the gloom, the we are doomed type energy lifted because there was a new energy in town. The new energy that arrived in the period that I'm channeling was the Rhesus Negative Bloodline that literally dropped in, that flew in, that flooded in to help the human species survive. It was done in secret. It was done in secret. The High Priestess. We also have the Four of Wands. There was a higher power, a higher purpose. These are cards of celebration from a place of just, oh my God. I don't know what period of time I'm tuning into here, but it was bleak. It was bleak. It was like we cannot survive. Look at this, because this card, the Two of Wands, it's the couple, it's conception, it's the world. One of these two holding the Rhesus negative energy. Now, this is where I don't want to get too much into the whole medical science of it. Otherwise, I'm going to stop the flow of my channeling. Because I don't know, well, put it in terms of me and my children, I am Rhesus negative. My husband is A positive. I don't know what my children are. I don't know whether I've passed on my blood to them or not. I don't know how it works, but I do know that in the Rhesus negative gene gets passed on somehow, okay? So in some unions, in some conceptions, that Rhesus negative new energy flowed out to the earth and it was successfully planted. It was successfully seeded by the high priestess. The question is, who is the high priestess? And who seeded it? I don't know if the tarot is going to answer that, but we'll turn to Ashtar in a moment and Metatron, but let's just see. One final card. Who seeded it? What can I have a clarification for the high priestess? Oh, that's so beautiful. That's less beautiful. But anyway, let's just stay with this one. What seeded it? Love seeded it. And can you see what's above love? The Holy Spirit. The dove, the Holy Spirit seeded it. However this came in, whenever it arrived, and I'm being told the Rhesus Negative Blood was on this planet before they discovered it, way before they discovered it. Okay, so it's been here much longer than they think it has. But it came from love. It came from love. It came from a loving source. It probably came from Source itself. We've got the Holy Spirit, we've got the Dove of Peace, the Ace of Cups, the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail also leads me to believe that many people carrying this Rhesus Negative Blood have lifetimes associated with the Holy Grail. This is some work I want to do this year as well. I was going to say week. I'm not going to do it this week, Spirit. But anyway, I don't think I am anyway. I don't want to get too much off topic here, but I will just say, this is particularly for people that have watched me for a long time, even though I've created a Christ consciousness deck, even though I've been talking about Jesus and Christ and Mary and Joseph and all the others for a long period of time, you've never heard me really come out and talk much about my lineage that I believe I have linked into Christ consciousness and linked into Holy Grail. It doesn't mean that I think I'm special. It just means that I know that I've had lifetimes where I've always carried the Christ light. And I know that I was alive during the time of Christ as well. And I will do a video on that. And the other night in bed, I had a dream. And in the dream, for some reason, I was seeing my birth. And I just heard this voice say, there were shepherds at your birth as well, you know. And I woke up and I thought, there were shepherds at your birth as well? And it was around Christmas time. So I knew what it meant, which of course is, I'm not saying I'm Jesus, but, you know, it's the Christ consciousness. The shepherds came to Jesus. He came to, it was the Christ consciousness that Jesus carried, the template that he laid down. The shepherds energetically are at many people's birth that carry the Christ consciousness in a very strong way in our world. And I believe, not exclusively, but there's a high proportion of these people who've got the Rhesus Negative Blood. Doesn't mean if you haven't got it, you can't carry Christ consciousness. That is not what I'm saying. But anyway, that's another video I'll do another day on the whole Christ energy. So I pulled the card in terms of, okay, who seeded this? Who gave the command to, yes, let's seed the RH negative bloodline on Earth? And we've got the answer is it came from love, it came from God, it came from the Holy Spirit. But then on the bottom of the deck, we've got this card, which isn't so good, which is the Seven of Cups. And I feel as though, and I'm being taken into a whole different area here, which is I'm now seeing the manipulation and the control and the experimentation that has been done on this bloodline. Oh dear. Okay, we're going down a bit of a rabbit hole here, but I'm falling into it because I'm being asked to fall into it. I'm being taken way back in history to a time when this prize arrived in the world, this RH blood. It was discovered. People understood the power of it. They understood the lineage of it. Maybe the links also to the Holy Grail, the fact that people carrying this have been around, the masters, etc. And a underworld rose up from the belly of hell on earth, basically, to dominate it, to manipulate it, to try to taint it, to try to squash it. I'm just hearing the word experimentation. So it feels as though there is something that, I feel as though I'm getting into like the synthetic blood that they're now manufacturing or wanting to manufacture. It feels as though they've taken a component of the Rh negative blood and done something to it, or it's not as pure as it once was. But anyway, this is just what man does. Let's not get too deep into it. This is what man does. God gives something that is good. The universe gives something that is good, and man taints it. There's always a portion of darkness on our world that wants to take something good and corrupt it. So there's that. Okay. Another interesting thing that I'm picking up with regards to Rhesus negative blood, and again, I'm not making any medical claims here, this is just an intuitive feel, is that, put it this way, during the pandemic, I channeled very early on that I felt as though certain people had a degree of immunity from the worst excesses of any particular pandemic type virus. And I was drawn back to something such as the Great Plague of London, so the plagues of the past, really. And I was shown that certain people across the planet, for whatever reason, had immunity. Didn't mean that they wouldn't maybe get ill, but they certainly wouldn't die of it. And I was taken back, as I say, to the times of plague. I think I said at the time, although I can't really remember, was that I felt that I was one of these people, that I had some type of immunity, for want of a better word. And I would like to just hypothesize, and it is only a hypothesis, but I would like to hypothesize that the Rhesus negative blood also has an energy about it where we have lived through, I'm hearing biblical plagues, but equally more modern plagues, and as such survived and built up some type of resistance. So that was something that I got intuitively. I did also, after getting that intuitive hit, go and actually have a look at good old Google, and it does seem as though there are some medical studies that are actually backing up what I'm saying here. So again, this is more maybe something for the future as well. And it may also be tied into the fact that I was picking up earlier on in this video the nature of potential experimentation being done on this bloodline, i.e., why do certain groups appear to have greater immunity against certain things? And without getting too conspiratorial here, if you believe that certain pandemic energies, either from the past or in the future, may very well be planned and released, and that's as far as I'll go, then powers that were wouldn't be too happy with a proportion of the population that whatever they did to try to cause harm or create havoc would be immune to a degree. And as I say, I'm sure there are exceptions to the rule. There may very well be viewers here who have got relatives who are Rhesus negative that did succumb, but I am being given that piece of guidance. So I think that's really quite interesting. So if we are then to believe, and this is how we are being steered through this video with the information that's coming through, that this Rhesus negative influx of souls arrived as an offering from God, from love. The question that I'd like to now pose and ask Spirit is, was that gift and offering Did it come in more via a alien stroke star being stroke intergalactic energy, or was it more angelic in nature? Okay, so let's just tune into that and see what we get. So we know that these souls flooded in, but were they more alien, for want of a better word, or were they more angelic? And straight away, I am, and there might be some distortion here in what I'm picking up, because I do feel I've got quite a strong angelic frequency that runs through my veins. So I'm particularly picking up the more angelic frequency, but I'm also being told there are those that have got more of a pronounced intergalactic stroke alien energy. So I'm actually wanting to say it's both. And what I'm being shown is this flow, this movement of souls that came down from above to earth. It's as though hierarchy isn't really correct in the higher realms, because there is no hierarchy. In fact, what Spirit is showing me are more circles within circles within circles. So whichever way makes sense of what I'm about to say, just visualize that. But in terms of a hierarchical imagery that is going to help you, it's as though the souls flowed down, and they flowed down through all of the different realms, picking up volunteers, as it were, from each realm. So some were galactic and alien in nature, starseed in nature, and others came in via the angelic realm. So it's both. It's both angelic, for want of a better word, DNA, and it's also alien stroke intergalactic DNA. So within the RH negative community, as it were, there are crossbreeds, for want of a better word, that carry both angelic or starseed stroke intergalactic, or a mixture of both mixed in with human. Okay, so in terms of those original souls that came in, so that's what I'm getting for that. Shapeshifting is one thing I heard. Right, let me go into this shapeshifting. So I feel as though there is like a shape-shifting energy with RH negative blood people. What I mean by that, and remember, shapeshifters there's a big misunderstanding with regard to shapeshifters. When you say shapeshifters, people immediately seem to, in some parts of the community, think that's always a bad thing. It's not always a bad thing. I actually remember a lifetime where it was almost like pre-form, certainly pre a physical body, just being formless basically, and being able to morph and shift into different patterns is what I want to say, rather than bodies, patterns. Imagine yourself formless and being able to just become the flower of life, just become any of the symbols out there really, but I'm being shown the flower of life in particular. And of course, the conception and the way that the eggs subdivide. There is sacred geometry right from the word go, but this is before conception as well. Imagine, I'm just seeing myself now, but also probably you, floating around as matter, as energy that is able just to take any shape it wants to, but equally can be any pattern that it wishes to be, that can be any note that it wishes to be, that can be any sound, that can be any flavour, that can be any, it's just beautiful what I'm tapping into here. We are so much more than we realise we are, so much more than we realise we are. But anyway, back to shapeshifting. So yeah, there's a shape-shifting energy, but equally, this can manifest, not necessarily in terms of me suddenly now turning into a dragon or, whatever else. That's probably not going to happen. Okay, it needs to be a certain frequency for that to happen. And indeed, would it even be permissible? Would it even be allowed? Would it even be... it feels as though those of us that came in with this bloodline, it's as though there are rules that we're given when we come here, that you can't do that. You can't show that. You can't do that. You're going to freak people out if you do that. Just stay in your body. Stay in your body. And often it's very hard to stay in the body. I suspect many channelers, actually, many people that are into this type of work probably have the Rhesus negative blood. But it's very hard to stay in the body. But that actually is one of the lessons that we came to learn, to be in the body, because it's very easy otherwise just to be this. I could be this. Very high incidence of astral traveling as well, to an exhausting level. I know this myself, just, having to tell my all aspects of myself, I do not wish to travel tonight out of body. I do not wish to have that experience. I know I'm here to help people, but please, I need my own energy tonight. It's that type of thing. But no, so shape-shifting isn't really appropriate, as I say, in modern society. But in certain situations, it is allowed. And I guess that is in terms of ceremonial work. And this is all working for the light, of course, healing work, that type of thing. But it can manifest in a more 3D mundane way, but equally a good way, in that, think about shape-shifting. It's about change, basically. Shape-shifting is about change. It's about metamorphosis from one state of being to another. So people with Rhesus Negative Blood seek out change more than other types. They're not the type of people that can just stay in a job, do the 9 to 5 for 60 years and get your carriage clock, as I always say at the end of it. Shoot me now if ever. I could never do that, and I'm feeling that's part of this type of person as well. So change as a necessity. It doesn't mean that you find change that easy, but it's like change will always happen in your life, and I'm talking about big changes. So it can be moving geographically to different areas of the world. It can be, when I say everybody changes jobs, but excuse me, I'm talking about changing profession. It's like, it's not just changing job, it's changing profession, it's changing identity. It's like, well, I always knew you as this, but my God, you do that now? It's that type of thing. So greater propensity to change. Let me bring Ashtar in now. Rhesus Negative Blood. Well, that's a very bizarre thing to be shown, but I'm going to tell you. First thing I heard him say was, I feel that I'm sitting at a table. It's a stone table. It's a stone table, but it's not stone as we know stone. It's stone, but it has been manifested. It is of a different material from stone, but it looks like stone. I don't know why I'm going on about this table, but I'm being shown this round table. I'm being shown a round table. I'm being shown Ashtar, and he's giving me a cup. It looks like the Holy Grail. It's got blood in it, but it's not. It's my blood. He's saying this is going to be so easily misinterpreted, so please listen carefully. This is not the blood of Christ. This is not sacrifice. This is nothing demonic. This is nothing that's been done to another human being to get that blood. It feels as though the Rhesus Negative bloodline is threatened, is what he's saying. It's threatened. It's as though our esoteric knowledge, and it's the awakening process is making it really flower and bloom in many. It's a threat. It's hunted down type energy is what I'm feeling. And so him passing this grail, this cup of blood, it's more that he's wanting to give it to me to replenish myself. It's very much like what I was saying about when you give blood. You give blood, they take your blood away, and then your body remakes that blood. And I would imagine that when your body is remaking the blood, somehow it's healthier, it's stronger, it's more clean, because it's new. Do you see what I'm trying to say? There's something here about renewing the blood, purifying the blood, keeping the blood pure. Now, I guess there is, help me out here in the comments, there must be something we can take. It's almost better for you to say it than me, because otherwise I'm giving out medical advice and I'm not qualified to do that. But I can research it offline as well. But I feel as though there are things that we can take, things that we can eat that help our blood. I'm being shown very dark green vegetables like kale, for some, well, obviously I'm being shown that for this reason. Just watch yourself. Like, you need to maintain what you have running through your veins in a more conscious way than people who belong to other blood groups who might give it no thought. Okay. Let's bring Metatron out at this point. Okay, Metatron's giving me body brushing. Okay, scrubbing, you know, the hard bristle brushing like that up to the heart, the legs, the arms. But he's saying it's more doing something like that and being shown running or walking or exercise, obviously, getting the blood moving through the body. But it's when if you're walking, or if you're brushing yourself, it's doing it consciously, not just in terms of, I don't know, trying to lose weight, get fit. I'm doing it for my blood. I'm doing it for my blood. I'm doing it to keep my blood healthy. Okay. Also, I'm being shown water, to drink lots of water. Anyway, that's the first thing I'm being shown. So, Ashtar, Rhesus Negative Blood. I'd like to mention something about leaders in our world, because in the same way that earlier I was saying that I felt as though there was a high proportion of the spiritual community that have Rhesus Negative Blood, for whatever reason. Well, it is for a specific reason. It's to bring in that higher frequency light codes and DNA into the human mix. So we have a high percentage within the spiritual community, but I'm also being told we have a high percentage with regards to leaders per se in our world. And I'd just like to address this, because we know that we're in times right now where many of our leaders, particularly politically and socially, are being exposed for darker deeds. So they aren't necessarily what you would straight away class as a light worker. However, if you think about it from a dualistic perspective, what I call a violet pill perspective, and I've got videos on the violet pill, which is understanding that the dark also serves the light. You can't have light without darkness. Then we also need to see that some of the leaders in our world that carry this Rhesus Negative blood that may on the surface be appearing to be dark, are doing so because this is a planet of duality and the darkness is serving the light. You can't have an awakening without the having a need to be something to awaken from. So that's the first thing that I'm hearing Spirit say. The other analogy I'm being given, and this comes from a numerological perspective, is, and I might do a video on numerology another day, but I've noticed over the years that many leaders in our world, historically, and probably also now as well, have got what's called a 2911 energy. 2911 energy is the path of mastery. But we need to put a word in front of mastery, which is potential mastery. So you can be born with a 2911 energy, just as much as you can be born with a Rhesus Negative energy. And there is potential, there is great potential there. But it doesn't mean that that potential always flowers in the way that you might expect it to. Indeed, if you think about the lotus flower actually has to find its way through the mud to bloom in the first place. And some 2911 energies fail to do that. They fail to live up to that very high potential of mastery in their lifetime. Is exactly the same for the Rhesus Negative energy as well. We have within the community, as it were, of Rhesus Negative beings, those who have not been able to, for whatever reason, bloom in the way that they potentially ultimately could. And that might be via all sorts of different reasons, trauma, childhood happenings, many things that can thwart our light. So please remember also, when we're talking about Rhesus negative special characteristics, what they bring to our world, what they potentially can be, and also, going back to what we were saying about the angelic hybrid crossbreed, really, and the intergalactic hybrid crossbreed. People always imagine that always will bring something extraordinarily beautiful. It's more that the potential is there for that to happen. But like a plant that needs to be watered, it needs to be watered and it needs to be nurtured. So I'm also hearing Archangel Metatron say that we don't want to create some sort of exclusive club here, but he's more just saying that Rhesus negative people will often, for whatever reason, be attracted to each other. And I don't mean that necessarily in a sexual or romantic way. I just mean in terms of soul tribe. So they tend to find each other. And it's interesting, isn't it, that the spiritual community is full of them. So like attracts like, and that is also very important. The origins of Rhesus negative blood. So we know it came from love. We know it came from source. We know it came from God. We know it came, he's saying it came from a specific request for help. It's like an SOS call that went out from this earth. He says, see it like this, actually. He's showing me, and we're going way back in time, way back in time, centuries and centuries and centuries ago. SOS, Earth is in trouble, people are in trouble. The lifeblood of humanity is in trouble. SOS goes out. It's as though the biggest blood transfusion comes in, which is us carrying this blood group. Okay. I'm seeing it's like one of those great big plastic, what looks like this. I've got a picture of it somewhere. One of these. That's what I'm seeing. It's like a great big plastic vial of blood, as it were, and I'm now being shown the earth, and it's like the earth gets covered with this blood. Nothing about this is dark. Nothing about this is demonic. Nothing about this is negative. Ashtar's saying blood is life in the same way that water is life. If you have no water running through your body, you are dead. If you have no blood running through your veins, you are dead. Okay, so seeing the earth covered in blood like this is actually life force energy. I'm now being shown, it's a bit gross this, but it's like, where's my thing of the earth? I don't know what I've done with it, but let me get it, hold on. So we've got the layer of blood across the earth, life force. Underneath the earth, I see this great big placenta, okay? This great big placenta throbbing. And the placenta, which of course is the thing that the baby needs to survive, the baby is humanity. The placenta is of course attached to the mother. The mother is God, universe, whatever you believe is in creator, let's just call it that. It's like we've got this placenta energy attached to creator still. Don't know really what that means, but anyway, that's what I'm being given. It's all getting a bit gross, this, but I know in some cultures, you see, I shouldn't be like this. I know I shouldn't be like this. It's just the way I am. I can't help it. I had a Victorian life. I did actually had a Victorian past life. Victorian lady. Because I know in some cultures eating the placenta is normal. But to me, it's like, oh God, take it away. I don't want that. But I'm being shown that. It's rich in all sorts of things. But you'd have to be careful, wouldn't you? If you see, I've gone into my mind now, which is not a good thing when you're channeling. But I'm just thinking, if your baby was Rhesus positive, and you wouldn't. But anyway, you'd have an injection, so that'd be all right. Okay, let's see what else I can get, guys. I'm not quite sure where to go now with it. Let's pull a card from this deck. This is the Starseed Oracle. I just use cards really because they stimulate questions, because you're not here to ask the questions, and. So the card is almost like the question or the next thing to talk about, and then we'll carry on the channeling. This deck is the Starseed Oracle by Rebecca Campbell. So Rhesus Negative Blood. Rhesus Negative Blood. Baby steps. Action. Follow your intuition before it makes sense. Okay. Yep, see that one? Baby steps. Not sure what that's got to do with Rhesus Negative Blood yet. Oh, ooh, interesting. Bottom of the deck, we've got You Got the Love, Hadarian energy, codependency and boundaries. I'm feeling that's not as relevant, but You Got the Love is relevant. Right, what I'm picking up from these two cards, this is a big sweeping statement I'm about to say. But I'm feeling it's true. You see, we've got 15% of the world's population that have Rhesus Negative Blood. So we have 85% that don't. I think there's a long-term plan by a higher power for this planet to become more like 85% Rhesus Negative Blood, 15% other blood. How the hell that would ever happen, I have no idea. Oh, okay, I'm now being told. I'm now being shown a great big influx of it again. This sort of defies, you've got to go into the metaphysical and the esoteric to understand what I'm saying here. Because if you get into the science of it in terms of, hold on a minute, we've got 85% who've got normal blood, and how can you reverse it with what we've got, and how it, I don't know. I'm just being shown a flood of new souls coming in, which have it. Why would we need a reversal? Why would we need more people with it? Is it, okay, let me just ask the question. So is it the fact that there's going to be more star seeds arriving? I mean, we're all star seeds to a degree, but maybe from different planets, or what's going on here, Ashtar? What is going on? How could we ever get to 85%? That's a high goal. It's not going to happen in my lifetime. No, I know that. So why are they coming then? Why are they coming? Again, they've been called, he's saying. Sort of don't want to say the next bit, but I'm going to have to because it's been given to me for a reason. I feel as though, remember, these are just potential timelines I'm linking into here. Oh, God. Jesus. Don't really want to say this. There is a potential timeline of a mass extinction event, a depopulation event. If that were to happen, this planet is always meant to be populated, is what I'm hearing, because it's very important in the wider scheme of the solar system. Many souls are queuing up to come here, and they're reliant on it being here. And this is Ashtar. They're reliant on it being hospitable. They're reliant on it being open, he's saying. They're reliant upon it being open. And so any attempt at depopulation or mass extinction will always be refilled back up. It's like the planet will always be refilled. The planet will always be refilled. And some of the people that might leave in a mass extinction event, hopefully that doesn't happen, but if it were to happen, some of the people that would leave, but the people that would come in would be part of that person's soul tribe that has just left. Does that make sense? He's saying it can also be the actual person coming back in. In a mass extinction event, the people would flow out, the souls would flow out, but the souls would then flow back in very quickly. Much shorter time period between, life review and doing whatever you do in spirit when you're waiting to come back in, getting to the back of the queue maybe, having your discussions with the board or whatever happens up there in terms of what you plan to do. It would literally be going out, coming back in again. So depopulation of the planet is never going to actually be allowed to happen. There might be an illusion that it happens, but it would soon fill right back up again, he's saying, because he's just saying it's just simple supply and demand. It is simple supply and demand. There are more people demanding to come here than you would ever believe. And he says, when you leave this planet, believe or not, you very well may be one of them. Why am I telling you this? Because it feels as though at that crossover between exit and then coming back in, there is something that's being altered by Creator that would mean you'd come back in with this different blood. It's what I'm getting. It's what I'm getting, guys. We will see. We will see. Okay. Right. Origin. Let's go back to origin. Okay, he's showing me a door behind a door. For want of a better word, it's like a secret doorway, secret passageway behind a facade of something that looks like a door. What he is implying, and we might know this rationally, but we don't really get it, is that there is so much more to the solar system. There are so many more planets. There are so many more stars than we would ever believe. He's saying it would blow your mind. So the planets at the moment where we feel as though this bloodline came from, is it Andromedan? Is it Palladian? Is it Syrian? It's like there's something else behind that. And what I mean by that is, I don't feel it is that. I feel it's something we don't know. It's a door behind a door. It's as though the starseed groups that we talk about at the moment and that we identify with because we've had lifetimes on those planets, Sirius, the Pleiades, etc., they're very real, he's saying. But there's another realm behind wherever these places are. And he's saying it's from that distant place that this bloodline originally came from. And it's from there that if there was a mass depopulation event, these souls would be invited to go behind the door to a place which we can't imagine, we can't compute. He says you can't compute it because you're in a human body. He says it's not because you're not intelligent enough to compute it. It's not because you haven't got a high enough frequency to compute it. It's because you're in a human body. And he's saying because you're in a human body and you're meant to be in a human body, there is a limit to what you can experience whilst you have bones and skin and density and gravity and everything that we understand that is earthly. Yeah? And he says that is how it's meant to be because you're meant to, there is meant to be a degree of amnesia, a degree of forgetting, which is essential because without that, no soul mission would be, what is the word? No soul mission would be exciting or make you want to get out of bed in the morning. It would be like, well, yeah, I'm 5 years old. I know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. I know what I'm going to be doing in 2036. I'm going to come up against these problems. And then I'm going to meet that person and that's going to happen. And, how boring would that be? Everything would just be pre-scripted. You'd know exactly what was going to happen, exactly what you were going to do. No, there has to be a degree of amnesia. Because you choose your soul mission, you then come in and it's meant to be a bit of a challenge and an adventure. It's meant to be, where's this card, the Fool? It's meant to be a bit like this. I wonder what will happen. So this thing about not being able to see further than the door behind the door, it's because you're not meant to, because you're in a physical body. You know what you're allowed to know at this point in time. And this is to do with the human species. He says, after the next great influx of Rhesus negative beings, is how he's describing them, there will be a greater ability to see further, though, in terms of different planets, being able to access them, not obviously see them with your physical eyes, be able to access them. Okay, thank you. Okay, so tuning in then to the blood that's running through me, the Rhesus Negative Blood, and I'm going to use the Crimson base chakra spray from Archangel Metatron, because the base chakra, of course, is linked into our bloodline, and crimson very much is the colour also of blood. So let's just see what I get. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but we'll give it a go. It's what I'm being told to do. So let's just try and for me to tune into the blood that's flowing through my veins. Okay, so the first imagery that I'm being given is an interesting one, which is of a coiled snake. And this snake, excuse me, has a head on it that would fight to protect itself. It would bite, it would sting. So there is a protective energy that I'm feeling, which is to do with don't poke the snake, don't try and disturb the blood, basically. And that makes sense to me, actually, that piece of imagery, because I do know, and I have read, that, for example, if we go back to pregnancy in women, if you are Rhesus negative and your baby would be positive, I believe, the mother's body would actually try to attack the baby within, which is why you're given an injection to stop that happening. So, and that's a really weird one, isn't it, when you think about it? Why would a mother's body, a host body, try to attack the one that was growing within it? And I suppose it's because it doesn't recognize it as being the same energy, basically. So that makes sense to me, that the coiled snake, it's fine as long as it's not poked, it's not prodded, it's not interfered with. But if it is interfered with, or if something tries to mix with it, it will fight to maintain its purity. And it does strike me that maybe this particular type of blood is one which will make sure that nothing is put into it that is a contaminant, is what I would like to say also. Okay, let's see what else I get. So blood flowing through my veins. I'm hearing royal blood. Okay, so again, a little bit triggering, maybe those two words, but I think it goes back to this Holy Grail type bloodline that I was talking about earlier. Royalty, in this sense, is linked into holding certain qualities, having reached a certain position. And I'm talking here about past lives. I'm talking about past lives that go back thousands of years, actually. So the being lifetime upon lifetime of service and having worked your way up through the ranks is what I'm hearing. Through achievement, through working your way up through the ranks. I'm just seeing lifetimes of spiritual service and having arrived at a place where you deserve the throne, okay? And the throne is just purely a symbolic thing in terms of respect is the word that I'm hearing, respect. So I'm feeling that also. So also what else in terms of this blood then? Rhesus negative blood, Rhesus negative blood. Okay, I'm seeing lots of bubbles and I think, again, this is just symbolic. This is to do with enthusiasm. This is to do with vivaciousness. This is to do with embracing life, trying to get on with life, trying to remain buoyant. These are people that carry this blood that are here to. They're like the lifeboat energy for others as well. So they often hold positions which are linked to that of trying to keep others afloat and trying to keep others buoyant. So that's part of why they came as well. Okay, what else? So the blood running through my veins. Okay, I'm hearing blood can run cold. And what that means, and I know this is a generic thing that can happen to all human beings, but it's as though we have a very well inbuilt system. I've got Metatron here, he's making me laugh now. It's like a bullshit meter, okay? It's like a bullshit meter that goes off, which is that we can just see through people very easily. And once crossed, then, you know, that's it. You don't really get a second chance. So there's this, and I'm getting the energy of the knight coming through now with the sword. The knight and the sword, fighting for what is right, fighting for honour, but seeing through the, being able to see the vipers in the nest as well. So although I saw the blood also linked into the coiled snake, this is more like, it's like a Middle Eastern beautiful esoteric snake. I mean, it's linked also to Kundalini energy, but it's wise. It's a serpent. And I'm also being taken to the rainbow serpent, which I believe is coiled within Mother Earth. So Rh negative people have a strong correlation with these energies. So that's how far back in time this blood goes. Okay, there might have been wipeout movements and moments where it's nearly been eradicated, but it never will be. And it will always come back stronger. So there's this thing about regeneration that comes with this blood as well. Regeneration, the ability to rebirth. Right, I'm now being taken into the fact that this is my blood again talking, the fact that we can create new DNA pathways easier than others for some reason, which I don't really understand, but that's what I'm hearing it say. The DNA pathways are more elastic, more able to expand, more able to accommodate. I'm being shown the analogy of a tree with wide branches. So the system within us, the DNA structure, able to accommodate new extensions, and these new extensions are linked into the upgrades that are coming into our planet, whether they be via solar upgrades, light upgrades, and also ones that are coming up from the earth, I hear as well. So it's a very sensitive, finely tuned machine is what I'm hearing. It's a finely tuned machine. And because it is a finely tuned machine, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, the need to look after it, to not take it for granted, to give it the right fuel. So I'm being shown it now as a car, and it needs the right fuel put into it, in the same way that you don't put, I don't know, diesel into a unleaded car. You have to put the right fuel into this body to make it work as efficiently as it can. And this is true for everybody, but it's particularly true for Rhesus negative types. the blood, this thing about the blood running cold as well, it's as though very sensitive to stimuli, very sensitive to, what do I mean by stimuli? To anything that can be seen, tasted, heard, vibrations as well. It's as though the system is just very, very finely tuned. I'm now being taken to the nervous system, and the fact that this also is sensitive in these people. This can be both a blessing and a curse. Interestingly, I've often said about myself that my greatest strength is also my greatest weakness, which is sensitivity. So that makes sense, linked in also to this bloodline. That's very true of people like us. Okay, anything else, please, to be shown by my blood, There's something here about, and again, I'm being taken back into the past, about dying for a cause, being prepared to die for a cause, literally bloodshed, being prepared to do that. These are people that generally do not run off the battlefield at the first sign of trouble. They are usually the last to leave the battlefield, and if they leave the battlefield, like this card, actually, I've got this card up, the Ten of Swords, so be it, because it will be a noble battle that was worth the fight. There's also something here about protecting the bloodline, protecting each other. Anything else? Rhesus Negative Blood, in terms of the angelic energy, the galactic energy. I'm hearing the Elohim as well, the Elohim, 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 Elohim. Bloodline, Rhesus Negative, Elohim. I'm feeling as though there is a ability to be able to speak light language and to understand codes in a way that others struggle with. So now I'm being shown things such as crop circles, patterns, being able to decipher codes. Now let me just quickly type in Elohim meaning. The term Elohim means Supreme One or Mighty One. It is not only used of the one true God, but is also used on occasion to refer to human rulers, judges, and even angels. So Elohim definitely also linked into this bloodline and from where it came. Okay, so that's that. I think I'll leave that part now. I'm sure this video is probably going to have more questions than it's answered, but I think it's a good start that we've made today.